What's up, everybody? How are you? Welcome back to the podcast that still has no name, but we are debating on several names. No name, breaking bread, so good. I don't know. If y'all have a name, please help us out here. But anyways, today we have the utmost honor of having the most beautiful woman on the face of this planet with us today. Like, what other podcast gets to say that? No other podcast but this one. That, of course, is my beautiful wife, Jocelyn Acosta. How are you today, baby?
I'm doing well.
This was out of nowhere.
Very impromptu.
Yes, very impromptu. She stepped in, and we're going to do something great today, I think.
I hope so.
Right?
I don't know how to feel about this.
Well, you're on here, so... So there's obviously a number of topics that we could probably cover. And I just felt like maybe we can start off by talking about, so for those of you guys that don't know, if you're watching, we have been married it's about to be 6 months. We're about to hit 6 months. We had a very short dating cycle too, I would say.
A year?
A year between officially dating and getting married, which we zoomed through that thing. We were like, ain't nobody waiting here. Mainly I feel like because of our age, but also like the Lord really just opened up the way. Yeah,
definitely. It was very God driven, and I think that made it easy throughout, considering everything.
Yeah. So I was thinking maybe you could speak a little bit about how was your experience transitioning from being single to, like, I guess when everything started happening. Maybe talk a little bit about that, because maybe somebody's watching that's maybe either there or thinking about that, and it's like, how can you guide that aspect of life? Because that's difficult, especially for someone, an awesome woman of God, Christian girl, like that you're trying to do things right, and it's scary, because the biggest decision you can make in your second biggest decision after following the Lord is the person you marry. And it's like, how, like, what was that experience for you? Like, okay, I need to open myself up to this, like, blah blah blah. Especially
that was very interesting.
Me being your first boyfriend, I have that honor and privilege, first and last.
You're so corny. Well, yeah, I definitely. Yeah, that's true. I grew up in a Christian home, so obviously, like, I grew up always hearing about, make sure you pray about your future husband, and prepare yourself and all this stuff. Like the typical cliche Christian rules and regulations that you have to follow. But one of the things that I did obviously listen to my parents about was that I did pray about these decisions. And don't get me wrong, like, it's not like I just went straight in and, like, there was never any interest, never anything. So it was difficult in that season of my life, growing up, trying to, like, really learn my boundaries and really learn, like, okay, I'm gonna allow this, I'm not gonna allow that. So siempre había el noviecito, like, fake, that never really was, because Tommy was my first boyfriend.
Wow. Other men before me. Wow. I can't believe you.
But yeah, like, I always knew deep down inside that, like, that wasn't gonna amount to anything. So for me, in the beginning, it was very, I don't want to say difficult, but it was a harsh transition, because, like, I was very to myself and, like, very, like, closed off, and, like, I wasn't the type of person that was willing to, like, open up myself to other people.
I'm not gonna lie, when I first reached out to you, I was a little intimidated, because, like, maybe this girl's not going to be receptive to me, but...
Yeah, at first I wasn't, because,
I know, you left me on red. Guys, for those of you watching, little backstory, I reached out to her. I WhatsApped her. I didn't even have her number saved on my phone.
You stalked me.
I did not. We've known each other since, like, crazy enough, me and Jocelyn have known each other since I think I was like 17 or something.
Yeah, I was 11. He's 6 years older.
Crazy, right? Because we grew up in church together, but we never saw each other that way. So I reached out to her through a WhatsApp group chat we had for work, and then I got her number from there, and I slid in her DMs because the Lord told me to. Number one, let me just say that. I was smart. I looked to God first, but then you left me on red.
I did leave you on red, but I think that was part of the process.
Yeah,
I had to really pray and really, like, as cliche as it sounds, you do have to pray. But growing up, I think I was 20, 21, where I really, like, understood. I'm like, you know what? Before I can even, like, think about a guy or commit to a guy based on like what I was saying in noises or whatever. I have to learn how to be independent and have to be like myself, and like I have to be able to just be okay with being single and be okay with being on my own. So when I did go ahead and made that decision, I remember I took a picture on Snapchat. RIP. And I sent it to my friend, and I was like, you know what? I'm good right now. But in like next year, you're gonna see me, and I'm gonna have a boyfriend. And
I remember when you showed me that. Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a year, and I'm just gonna be on my own. And I remember I took that picture, and lo and behold, a year later, I was with Tommy. But it took that decision where I had to like. Faith.
What a woman of God, guys. What a woman of God.
Where I did have to, go ahead and make that decision to be okay with being alone and being like without a man, because at the end of the day, you have to be completed yourself. You have to be 100% of yourself before you can go ahead and, get with someone. Because being together, what we've learned is that it's 100-100. It's not 50-50. With people in a relationship, it's two people giving 100%. So if you're not able to learn how to be 100% on your own, then you're not going to be able to fulfill that part of the equation, as you can say. So I really took that time to like be like, okay, you know what? I'm okay with being on my own, being who I am, just hanging out with my friends, getting to know people, whatever. And in that season, I really grew, and like I had to really go through situations that were uncomfortable to like help me become who I was at that time when you and I started talking. And that allowed for me to be able to learn confrontation, to be able to learn how to communicate, to be able to learn how to like be myself. And obviously that is what helped me at the end of the day with our relationship.
Yeah, because isn't it crazy how like all those, now that we're married, you notice how all that plays such a huge part in marriage, that how hard of like you hitting a wall would it have been if you didn't have those, like I guess went through those experiences, learned those things while you were single, because then in marriage you would have had no way to navigate, or you could have navigated it,
but it would have been harder,
way harder for us. And so can you speak a little more about that? Like what's something maybe that you learned in your season of singleness that helped you, informed you for now when we're married? If there's something that maybe comes to mind.
I think definitely communication and confrontation.
That's good.
I was the type of person that I did not like confrontation at all. Like I hated it. I avoided it. I was like, you know what, I'm going to let it slide. But there came a point in my life where like I really had to like take things head on and just like address them. And as uncomfortable as they were, like it helped me develop, and I think that helps us even now in our relationship, because obviously, as you know, not everything is rainbows and butterflies and picture perfect.
I don't know what you're talking about. For me, it is. But.
Yeah, sure. But
trying to get brownie points here, guys.
Sometimes it gets difficult, but because I learned how to, one, communicate with God, and two, like communicate with people, like that helped me to communicate with you. And whether that wasn't when we were getting to know each other, the talking stage, the dating stage, marriage, whatever the case may be, like it's helped me become, I guess you can say, bolder. And I'm still growing in it because it's not the easiest. But there's
we all are,
and like you just go developing as you go, and as long as we put God first.
It's crazy because like how many I have a bone to pick with you conversations have we had, and it's like, how difficult would that have been, and how much would that have stagnated our communication had you not grown in that area when you were single? Because dude, that's communication's everything in marriage. How many times have like we've gotten more frustrated, both of us, because we didn't communicate something or speak about something sooner, and we just kept it to ourselves. And it's like it's scary because like you're afraid of what the other person's response is, but then at the same time, like if you hold on to it,
it'll become worse.
The outcome's gonna be so much worse.
It's like a pressure cooker. It just starts building up until it explodes. But communication is key.
Yeah. So then I guess you would say then it's so important when you're single to understand that you need to go through your singlehood correctly. Like you need to live your single season. Yeah.
And enjoy it. Honestly, like I know so many people that are like so like desperate to like, oh, I want to be with someone, oh, I want to be married, oh, I wanted this, I want that. Like enjoy your singlehood, because we hear all the time like marriage isn't easy or whatever. Marriage is great, it's fun, it's like you're with your best friend all the time, but at the same time, like, you have to take into consideration another person at that point. Like, if I want to go shopping, I have to take into consideration Tommy, you know. If I want to go somewhere to a concert, I have to take you into consideration, you know. And it's not because you control me, but it's because, you know, like, we're a team, and we have to be able to like work together in that. And obviously when you're single, you can do whatever you want whenever you want. Obviously if you are older, you know, if you are younger, please listen to your parents. But yeah, like, those are the things that you start to learn, and like, looking back, you're like, you know what, like, the singlehood was a great era, but it prepared me for who I am today. So, and everything has its time, you know, like the word of God says it as well. You know, we have to be able to grow seasons by seasons, and, you know, there's a time and a place for everything. So singlehood, you're going to learn and you're going to grow, you're going to develop in that season. In marriage, you're going to grow and develop in that season. When there's kids, you'll learn, grow, develop in that season. We don't have kids yet. I'm not pregnant, but, you know, just so we know. Not yet. But there's a purpose to everything. So if you're single and you're like feeling desperate or lonely or whatever, like, that just goes to show that, one, you're depending on someone and you're waiting for someone to be that fulfillment for you, which is, first of all, a red flag. Like, you're not supposed to depend on anyone. Like I said in the beginning, like, it's 100. You learn to be on your own and okay with that in order to come to a person and is not completing that person. You're coming together for a team to be able to grow and to be able to.
Yeah, it's not completing, it's complementing.
Correct. I forgot the word. That's what I meant.
I got you. You see?
You see?
We're right there. Wow, that was so good. No, but it is so important to make sure that, like, because I think I love what you said, that people sometimes are like, oh, I'm desperate to find somebody, and I feel like I'll be complete when I find that person. But the truth is that, like, it's not two halves come together, it's two whole people come together. And
not only that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
no, you're good, go.
Is that, like, we have to learn to be complete in God.
Yeah,
because, like, so if you're lonely or you feel desperate or whatever the case may be, is like, where's God in all of this? He's the one that completes us. He's the one that makes us whole. He's the one that, you know, allows for us to feel joy and all the fruit of the Spirit and everything that comes with the presence of God. So that just goes to show also you're not putting God first. So whatever you put first that's not God, God's going to remove in the long run. So we just have to remember that, you know, put God first and, you know, be okay with being yourself, and then God will bring the person in the right time, which is exactly what happened with you. Like, I had, like I mentioned in the beginning, that I kind of died to that, and I was like, okay, I'm good with how I am right now. Like, I'm great. I have a job, I have friends, I'm happy, I have God, like, I'm serving, I'm in a great place, I'm good. And then you just kind of like came out of nowhere and surprised me. So then I was like, oh, okay, sure, let's see how this goes.
It's like when you, I guess, not that you were fulfilled in yourself, but, like, I know it came from the Lord, but yeah, when you were basically fulfilled from, like, and you're happy as yourself, that you saw that God opened the door. Yeah, like, obviously happy as yourself through the Lord, everything through God, but in that season, like, when the Lord gave you the blessing, is because your hands were prepared to hold it, is what you're saying.
Exactly. And God's never going to give you anything that you're not ready for. Also, kind of like what you're saying, you know, like, if you're 16, 17 and you're like, I want to be in a relationship, I want this, like, where's that going? Like, the purpose of dating is to get married, and you're married to fulfill a purpose together. It's not just to have sex, or it's not just to live with someone. Like, yeah, sure, those are great, but that's not the whole purpose of it. There's more. Okay, all right. I walked right into that one.
I will be that man today.
I walked right into that. But there's purpose behind everything. Don't
see that smile on her face, guys?
Don't start.
She knows, guys.
Don't start. Anyways, all right, okay, all right. My sister's here. I just want to point that out.
We gotta let her learn, man. Right, Joce? She's dying right now. But you know what? Now that we're on that topic, actually,
I walked right into that one. I really did.
No, but for real though, because I hate the fact that this is always, like, not censored, but spoken about so taboo in Christian culture and whatnot. But, like, sex, what were some expectations that you had before for it, and then what difference was it once you had it?
You see, that's a taboo. part of it.
Right?
Honestly,
Everyone always like, nah. But no, like it's a normal, beautiful, amazing thing. And it's like,
yeah, I think that there's a lot of fear behind it. And like, especially growing up in the Christian faith and Christian household, that sex is always kind of like excommunicated or whatever. Obviously,
wait till you're married. If not, you go to hell.
Yeah, exactly. Which, yes, please wait till you're married. Like, that is where the blessing comes. Like, don't have sex before marriage. But there's a blessing for it. And I think that, truth be told, we do got to prepare ourselves for it, you know, in the right way. Don't take the wrong measures, like going to porn or going to your worldly friends or going to stuff like that. But I do think that you should get the knowledge of it and understand that sex is from God and is for marriage.
Yeah.
You know, there's a blessing in it. And yeah, like that first time, it is intimidating, it's scary or whatever. But you know, when you put God first, like it's easier than kind of like what we imagine or whatnot. Like our TMI, whatever. But like that first night that we did come together, you know, we prayed beforehand, and you know, like God was in the midst of it. So you know, it's definitely an interesting topic.
Would you say that I guess maybe there was like you felt a pressure maybe to perform as well when like it came to that and stuff, like all these thoughts that before like it happens and before like you finally get to experience it, like that run through a girl's mind? Because obviously for a female it's so different than for a guy, especially like if you're coming like from never of having sex before, like
so there definitely is like a standard, I guess, because you know the world likes to sexualize everything, and you have to look a certain way, you have to act a certain way, or like I don't know, whatever, like the first night you're supposed to do this, whatever. But truth be told, like, you know, sex is supposed to be pure and innocent, and it comes from like the act of love, and you know that's because God put that desire in us. And like the world just makes it so how do I say it? Can't think of the word right now, but like the world just makes it in such a way that it's like it feels like raunchy, and it feels like dirty, and it feels like wrong. But truthfully, like when it's God and it's in marriage, like it just feels completely different. Not that I had sex before marriage, but, you know, like it looks different. You see the movies and like you look a certain way, and like you think that you have to act like in the movies, and everything is falling off the walls and like doing all this crazy stuff. But that's not true. That's just the image that the world wants you to think, because you know, to put those insecurities in us girls, and to put those like those fears of like, damn, if I don't like do this and he doesn't react like this, then I'm not doing it right, or I'm wrong, or whatever, or I'm not gonna be able to do this right. But truth be told, like it's a learning process, you know, like we come together, we learn each other's likes, dislikes, we pray and just be like, God, like teach me, because I don't know, I was a virgin, you know, when I got married. I don't know what the heck I was doing. But you know, we just go learning as we go.
It's funny how like I know that sounds so weird to incorporate God when it comes to sex, but like it's the coolest thing ever. Because like I'll never forget two things. The first, and we've talked about this, obviously we've experienced this, but on our honeymoon, I'll never forget, because I didn't get married obviously as a virgin. I had sex before, but obviously before, like I never knew what it was to like have it in marriage and have it under the will of God, and then like just feeling that peace of God. It was always like this horrible like feeling of like, man, I messed up afterwards, because I always got convicted because I was always a Christian. So, but I remember getting married in our honeymoon, like right after having sex and like going into the shower, and it's like, God, he's still there. And then it's like I felt his presence, and I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Like how's that a thing? Like I never, like, to feel peace and know that like what you're doing is good and you're in purpose, and it's like it's crazy. And then also touching on what you said, like asking God for help too, man, because like the human body's interesting, and the female body's even more interesting and complicated, and it's like there's a lot of stuff you got to do, and it's like it's difficult, but like it's crazy. Like I kid you not, the times I've asked, like I've told you this, like times I've asked God, like, Lord, help me, like God comes through and like we get the job done, bro. Like you're dying right now. I know you are.
I'd like to propose a question to Tommy.
Ooh, Dan, let's go.
So flip the tables. Yes, Justice, but asking you, like as a guy who went into marriage like not being a virgin, was there like a pressure on you to like perform, or to be like, yo, I've done this before, I should be good at this? Kind of like, because I know you set yourself apart when you're recommitted to God. And you may have like Did you feel like you lost your touch? Were you nervous and you were like, dang, it's been a minute, you know, I'm gonna be like, you know, like, did you have that pressure going into marriage?
Dude, no doubt, 100%. Actually, it's funny that you bring that up because I remember, I mean, the fear that every single guy has always, am I gonna last long enough? Am I gonna be able to do the right job? Like, am I gonna know how to like please her and all this stuff? And you're right, like maybe part of me was like, no, I'm good. Like I've done this before. Like, but then like, I guess coming into doing it like in a Christian, like from like in the will of God, like I thought in my head, like I knew it was gonna be different. And of course it was definitely very different. So to answer your question, Dan, like, yeah, like it was intimidating because I was like, man, and especially for you, like you're a virgin. I kind of like got to teach you, you know, and show you, and like, you know, God helped obviously, but dude, it's a huge responsibility, and and it was intimidating, even though a part of me I won't lie, I did feel like, okay, I'm a little prepared for this just because I had like practice before, I guess, if you want to call it that. And that's not to say like, oh, you should practice before, like, no, like, because I think there's a stigma that it's like, oh, if I go in and I don't know what I'm doing, like it's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's right, because I think as we discovered, it's like the funnest part of the journey is discovering it together.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, we're not stupid. Like, we know what goes where. It's not that, like, you know, but I guess, like, what you like and what you don't like and, like, how and all these different things, like, that's also part of the journey, which is why I love the fact that, like, when you wait for marriage and you wait to do it in purpose and the way that God originally intended it, like, he makes it so awesome that, like, you get to enjoy it and discover it with your wife and, like, just learn together, man. And it brings you so close. Like, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, how I think we talked about this the other day. Remember that, like, it had been a couple days since we had sex, and then it's like there was like a disconnection. And it's insane how sex in marriage brings so much connection to people that it's like you just I don't know, you speaking a little bit into that?
Yeah, it's crazy because that's why, like, in marriage, obviously sex is supposed to be something that, like you said, brings you together, and that's what the enemy tries to attack first, you know, because he attacks that, he separates you guys. And like, I remember in that I think it was like a week or something, that like, not that we didn't have sex for a week, but like that whole week was like just very intense. Like, there was just like a lot of like pressures, whatever, like there was a lot going on. And rather than talking about it and like being able to come together for it, we kind of just went our own ways and like processed it apart versus together. And it wasn't fun. It made things worse. So we got to see that firsthand. And like, now I think what we learned from that is that when we do come into those difficult moments, like we address it right away. And that's something that you actually taught me, like, in our relationship. It's like, I'm the type of person that would kind of like put things off, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna just pretend it didn't happen, or just like whatever. But I learned to just like say it, and I still struggle with it, you know. We're all a work in progress. I do too sometimes. But it's definitely taught us to come together, and when we address that, like, we're able to see that connection right away, and like we're able to like just kind of, I don't want to say get over it, but we're like able to like feel like that grace towards each other even more, and then it's very interesting. Sorry, I went on a rant there. No, you're good. That was good information. I want to touch on something, because Dan had asked, like, since I had experience beforehand, maybe there's somebody watching that is afraid or feels a certain way because maybe they do have a past. And hey, Dan. Keep going. Oh, come on, guest appearance. Let's go, Dan. Maybe there's somebody watching that has a past, and they're afraid because one of my fears or thoughts, the Lord gave me peace about it very quickly, but I'm sure not everyone has that same case. But I was intimidated at the fact that what you would think of me because I had a past, and I wasn't showing up here with a clean slate. I was showing up here with baggage, you know, and that was scary for me because a part of me was like, first of all, I was like, sometimes I felt like I didn't deserve you because like I'm getting this girl that has like 0 miles, like fresh, clean, like nothing, like, you know, real talk though, like for real, like you had no baggage, you had nothing in your past for real like that. I came with one, and it was a little intimidating and scary because I was like, what is she gonna think of me? Like, is this gonna make her not want to be with me? Like, is this gonna make her like turned off to me?
I don't know, like what is like, how was that process for you?
I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning I was a little intimidated by it, because as a girl you feel like that comparison, or like you feel like crap, like we don't, like, I don't know what these other girls did or how that was, like, am I gonna be compared to that? So that kind of like put a precedent for me to like feel kind of insecure. But what helped me overcome that was actually the fact that you just came clean with it. Like, you
communication,
just,
people.
Yeah, like you just came and you kind of just like put it on
I
the
was
table.
so afraid that day when we talked, when you like, and it was fairly early that you asked me that question. You were like, I need to know it all.
Yeah, I was very cutthroat. I was like, look, I didn't know from the beginning, like, where is this going? Because I did always say, like, whoever I dated was because I was gonna marry that person. So like at that point, I kind of like, I had already prayed, felt peace, whatever. There was like a whole story for that. But at that point I was like, okay, if this is gonna keep moving forward, I kind of need to know like everything. So I remember that conversation, we talked about it, and after that conversation it was like completely different, because I was able to just see you for you and understand that like that was your past, and everyone has a past. You know, like I don't have a past like yours, and you don't have a past like mine. Like yours was in relationships, mine is, I don't know, I had other baggage, stuff, so just coming clean and just putting it out there, just like remove that room for that comparison, or for like just kind of like that fear of like things are in the closet still, or I don't know what I'm fully getting, like. And a lot of people tend to do that because they think that, oh, I'm protecting you. No, like, you protected me by coming clean and telling me from the beginning. So it's kind of the opposite. A lot of people tend to do that.
Yeah, and I feel like it's funny because like I think it mirrors the way, because obviously you love me the correct way, and I think that was my safe haven to be able to tell you and open up and express everything that I was afraid to express to you, was because I didn't know how you were going to react, to be honest. I had peace in the fact that like I knew God like highlighted you towards me, and like he was pushing me towards you, and like I knew there was something there. Like I didn't know, like I didn't just go after you because like I thought you were cute, even though I did. But it was more than that. It was, I know God spoke to me, and it was like, that's someone like it's special for you, like go seek that. So I started, so I knew like I didn't think God would set me up for failure. I could set myself up for failure, but I knew that being open was a way to not fail. It was a way, even though it was going to be difficult. And I feel like it's crazy because with God too, or with even with like mentors or whatever, people that like in our lives that we need to be accountable to. And I think that was a sense of accountability with you, that it's like we're so afraid to be accountable, but then the second we do, usually the person that we're being accountable to, someone that we know is going to love us correctly, bro, all the fear is gone afterwards. And it's like, you don't have to worry anymore. And that was such a load off my chest after that conversation, because I remember like it caught me off guard when you asked me. I think we were in Sunset Place, if I'm not mistaken. So. And I remember having that conversation with you. I was just, bro, like out of nowhere you flung that question at me, and I'll never forget me going, oh, this soon, you want to talk about this now? And whatever, we went ahead, and I knew God had my back, and he wasn't gonna put you to ask me if something good wasn't gonna come of it. But I did, and afterwards it was like, yo, it's crazy that like that for me confirmed so much that you were the right person, because I don't think that the right person, like the wrong person, wouldn't have responded the way you responded. Yeah. And just loved me, and in a way it brought us closer together,
Yeah. It was still a little tricky, don't get me wrong, but I was like, okay, God, like,
that's why it's like I feel like it happens, and then like God's like, you still need to lean on me anyways, because the devil's gonna come and tempt you with these thoughts of like, even though like you're like, no, I'm good, but the small thought would come, like the dart will hit you, and you'll be like, no, like that, I don't need to worry about comparing myself, I don't need to think about this.
It came many times though, so that's why, like, you're absolutely right, like you have to keep on clinging to God and keep on just trusting God. Something that, it was actually someone here from church that said it one time, that when I was in the midst of praying for you and like seeing if this was actually God or whatnot, and like I remember feeling peace, and I remember that person was like, I'm trying to remember the exact words. They basically said that you have to remember the moment that God spoke to you about someone, because that's the moment that you're always going to go back to remember, because there's going to be fights, there's going to be arguments, there's going to be situations that you're going to be like, did I really hear God? Was this really God? And you're going to doubt yourself, and you're going to doubt other people around you, because some people will be like, yeah, that's the will of God. but people can be wrong.
Yeah, we don't know.
So like you have to remember that moment, because you can blame it on other people or whatever. But at the end of the day, you when those circumstances come and you think back, you remember, okay, this was God, because God spoke to me. I have that piece of what I felt. And then everything else will bring that confirmation. In my instance was, I remember God spoke to me. I had that confirmation, and then I spoke to my parents, and I remember the story of my parents was interesting because I'm Colombian, so my parents are crazy. My parents are crazy, and my mom was the type of person, she did not let me go out with like guys, and my dad even worse. Like, you just brought me down, he was like, no, what, no. So I remember I prayed and I was like, okay, God, I'm gonna tell them whatever. If it's from God, you're gonna allow for everything just to go smoothly. I remember that day I told my mom, well, she walked into my room. I remember I was with Joce, my sister, and she just looked at me. She knew something was happening, because, you know, Christian moms, you know, they have the Holy Spirit. She just walked into the room and she was like, she looks at me, she's like, you have something to say, and you know something else too. Spit it out. And I was like, okay. And I was like, okay, God, I guess you want to do this faster than I thought. So I told her the story, whatever, and she was like, look, man, I don't know. Just make sure that if it's God, you are 100% sure, because once you go there, there's no going back. Like, you're a PK or whatever, all these different things. But I never cared about any of those stuff. Like,
that's why I liked it.
Yeah. So she was like, just be sure once you go there, there's no going back. And then my dad came in like an hour later. And I remember I was so scared. I was like, God, because truth be told, I told God, I was like, let it be my dad to be the final okay, because he was like the stricter one. He was like the one that was more. Yeah, bro,
you're the firstborn girl. Like,
exactly. So I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna say? How am I gonna do this? So I remember I told him the same story. I just told my mom, and he just looked and he was like, well, just remember everything that I've always taught you, you know, like, respect yourself. And I remember sitting there and I was like, did this man just give me the okay? Like, is he okay with this? And from that day, I was like, okay, this is God. Like, I'm good. Like, God spoke to me and God spoke to my parents. I'm good. Then we went out to coffee. We got to like get to know each other more and more. And that's when like I started, again, just always going back to God. Another thing, like when we got more serious and everything, I remember praying and I'm like, okay, God, like, this is getting more serious. I need to know whatever. And then I remember right after Remnant Conference was when like someone prayed for us, and they kind of like confirmed also everything. This person didn't know anything, but they confirmed everything that we had already been feeling. And from there, I was like, okay, this is God. And like, why do I say this? Is because at the end of the day, like, God is the one you should always fall back on. Whether it's your relationship, whether you're looking for someone, whether you're waiting for someone, whether you're learning just for the future, whatever the case may be, God always needs to be that center and like that source for you to go back to. Because people will fail you. People will say one thing, do another thing. People will try and confuse you. Some people will be jealous of you. Some people will just try and drag you down. Yeah. But you have to know God is the one that's guiding you. And when you know it's God, that's when you can move forward. So.
That's so good that you said. It's like, it reminds me, like, I remember when we first started talking and I was praying about you, like, wondering, God, is this the right person? Like, I know you highlighted her in my life, but is she the right person? And I'll never forget PJ teaching me. He's like exactly kind of what you said. He taught me. He was like, there will be a day when you're married and you're going to get into a fight and you're going to question yourself. Did I marry the right person? Did I like it? And then are you going to tell yourself and have peace in the fact that I married this person because my best friend told me to marry this person. Yeah. I married this person. My mentor told me to marry this person. Or are you going to be like, I married this person because God told me to marry this person. Yeah. And that's the only way to ever have the ultimate peace. And I think that's why it's so important that like you listen to God's voice and God's voice be the loudest one. Yep. Maybe if you're in a dating situation and you're watching this and you're like, how do I know if this is the right person or not? I feel like one thing that I learned very quickly on is like limit the amount of voices like that are speaking into your situation and your decision making, because God should always be the loudest, because Lord knows that like someone might be like, no, that's not the right person, and it is the right person, and because you go off of their word, they're not God, they don't know. Yeah. And there was people that told me like, oh, that's not the right person for you, blah 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 blah. And there's people that were like, yeah. And like, if I sat there, I would have gone crazy trying to like make my decision based off of everyone else's advices, because no one knows at the end of the day. No one knows your future other than God. So only God God knows what you need, not what you want. And a lot of times I feel like we go after what we want, and we fail to realize that God has what we need. Because 10 years from now, you're not going to need what you need at this very moment. You know?
And that's funny you say that, because you get kind of like what you need. And I always say that, like, we complement each other so well. Like, you're so happy and like friendly, and like you have this amazing heart. And then there's me. Not that I'm a bad person, but like I'm definitely stronger character than you. So like I probably look scary, but I'm not that scary most of the time.
You're never scary.
Well, I look scary.
Actually, I'm joking. You're Colombian. Yeah, you're scary.
I look a little scary, but I'm not. Like, I'm actually pretty nice once you get to know me. So like I think that's so important for everything that we do.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, we go back to what we were saying in the beginning, marriage is purpose, and everything that we do is for a reason. You know, God put us together for something. We don't know later on in the future what that's going to look like, but you know, right now it's where we are right now. Right now is this podcast. Right now it's, you know, you being a youth pastor. Right now is like the little things. But it's important that whoever you end up with is someone that balances you. You know, like everybody says that you have to end up with someone that has your likes and your similarities, and like you're like that person. But truth be told, like, that's not what you need. You can't get what you want. You have to get what you need. Because I am very organized and very like strict and very like, I don't know, one way, but you're very like free and just very like whatever, but you need that structure. Yeah. And then I need that joy 100%. And like that friendliness and like that heart that you have. So like that's something to look for in relationships as well. Because in the long run, that's what is gonna benefit you. That's what is gonna take you somewhere with your spouse or with your partner, with whatever it may be.
Yeah. No, it's so important. And like I think it's great too to have like your list of characteristics, but I feel like sometimes people get too caught up on like the small things and they don't look at the big picture, and they get so distracted. I feel like it's not that complicated. I feel like people complicate dating and the right person so often. Like, I don't know, they feel like if they don't meet every single thing on my list, and it's like, dude, does that person love God? Does that person, like, do you guys have somewhat similar interests? Because, you know, and did God say yes? And like, are you attracted to that person? Like, I feel like people complicate it. Yeah, I mean, that's huge, man.
It's up there, you know.
They gotta be at least, they get more and more beautiful every single day. But are you at least attracted to that person? You know, and it's like, I feel like sometimes people,
and you make that person in the long run, you know, like I have helped Tommy in different situations. He has helped me become better in different situations. So even if that person isn't perfect when you get together,
because no one is ever going to be perfect.
We're all growing and developing, and that's what your spouse is there for too, you know, to help you get better. And you know, the wife is supposed to be someone that is the crown of the husband. It's supposed to be the one that is, you know, supposed to be the helper. And that doesn't mean that you're just like beneath your husband. You're partners, you're together and you're equals, but you know, you have your function as a woman and man has a function as a man. So you work together.
That's so biblical. Wow, look at you walk. Just a woman of God.
I got one more question.
Okay.
I got one more.
Well, that's one.
We're short on time, so maybe just Tom can answer this one. But how did you know you were ready to get married?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, because you guys dated like you guys dated for like what, 7 months, 8 months, something like that?
Dude, we started dating in May, and then I proposed in the following June.
Yeah. But you asked me for your girlfriend in September, and then you proposed in June.
Yes, you're right. Oh, we started talking in May. Sorry.
Talking in May, yeah.
Started dating in September.
It took forever to ask me out.
It was not my fault. It was very hard to meet up with your parents to get there. Okay.
The amount of times that I was like, yo, is this man ever gonna ask you to be your girlfriend?
I really tried. Trust me, your dad's a busy man. Your mom is busy too. I guess to answer your question, Dan, how did I know? I'm gonna take the easy route here and say that God gave me the okay. I won't just leave it there, because like anybody can just be like, yeah, like God gave me peace about making the decision. I guess in me as Tommy, how did I know I was ready to get married? I was ready to be committed. I think that was huge for me. Like, I was ready to spend the rest of my life, give my entire life to somebody, and that's why I think it's so important that like it didn't come until like my Christian walk was a lot, like my foundation was stronger in my Christian walk, because a Christian walk is literally just surrendering your life to God. And I feel like marriage mirrors that a lot, that it's like you're just ready to surrender your life to this person, because marriage really is just sacrificing day after day, but you love that person. So sacrificing for someone you love is not difficult. Just like with your Christian walk. So that was another reason. Another thing was financially. I don't think it's the end all be all, but I was at a place where I feel like I was able to manage getting married, and I knew and it was a mix of faith, because I didn't have everything, but God provided everything, but my heart was set on it. But I did know, like, I had a stable job, like I had finished school. I don't think finishing school like is the end all be all either. Like I don't think it's wrong to get married while you're still in school either. But I would say financially I was stable, and I think that's huge too, because sometimes people go out on a whim and they just get married because, like, you know, they just want to have sex already, whatever, but they're not financially ready, and then
that's important. Girls seek financial security. Yeah,
because that's one of the things that a man needs to give a woman is security, that sense of that. And then other than that, I feel like another thing was just, my relationship with God was strong too, like stronger than it had ever been. I think that was another way that I was able to tell. And I felt like I was walking in purpose too. I feel like those are a bunch of things, not to say that, like, if you're not at that place with everything, you can't get married. No. I think number one, the Lord speaks, and that's the end all be all. But as a person, I think, like, if you're financially stable, I think is huge. And I just think, like, you're ready to really commit yourself to someone for the rest of your life, because
literally
till death do us part. And then even when I die in heaven, baby girl, we still gonna be married somehow. I don't know if that works over there, but I'll ask God to be like, let me just still keep married to her. But okay, I know we gotta wrap up. So guys, thank you for tuning in. If you guys want to see more of this, Babe, would you come back on?
I would come back on.
I love talking about this. We'll talk about sex.
He loves talking about this
Bro,
stuff.
I love talking about relationships and marriage. Guys, I'm huge on talking about sex, because it's a great thing, and I feel like we don't make people understand how great it is. We make it sound weird, and sex and marriage is the most beautiful thing ever. So anyways, we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you again soon. Have a blessed day.